Welcome to another edition of What's Your Story? And thank you so much for continuing to tune in and learn about incredible souls showing up, doing the work, and inspiring others to do the same. Today, I am incredibly honored to have Elena Richter with me, a beautiful soul who I met a few weeks back when she joined Yanko and myself for our show, No Particular Reason. Since then, we've become fast friends. She's enlightened me with knowledge about how to clear metals from our body, as well as sent me an amazing skull, which you had me at hello. So, Elena, thank you so much for joining me.
So welcome. I really am glad that you enjoy that little tektite. He's a very special little skull. And when we were talking during the podcast, he literally spoke to me across the room and went, "I'm hers." And I went, "Okay, I'll get you after the show's over and I'll pack you up." It took me a few days to let go of him. I held on to him, just it took about a week to mail because he was sitting in my little pocket here, and I walked around with him for a few days, just getting my heart energy impressed into him so that when I sent him to you, you could feel it. So,
well, wait till you see what I have in store for you.
oh,
He actually sleeps above my head along with my
awesome.
several other crystals. I'll send you a picture. Anyway, that's not why we're here. We are here, Elena, for you to share with the community how you show up as love and what it is that led you to this place.
Oh, man.
And so first off, share with the listening audience what it is you do, please.
So I am the owner of the Crystal Den in Grayslake, Illinois, and it is a crystal store, metaphysical shop, and then we have a metaphysical healing center as well. So we do everything from foot detox to massage therapy to Reiki, which is my specialty. I've been doing Reiki now for a very long time. And I have a lot of clients that I take care of on a regular basis, some that I've had for years, and some that just keep walking through the door. So it's been very, very wild. And as we all know, those who are waking up, that life changes daily, and that different things happen. And when you get out of your own way, you experience some really bizarre stuff. So it's been a fun ride. I never know what's going to happen when I walk into an energy field, and I'm blessed and honored that somebody will allow me to work within their energy, because that's really what you're doing when you do Reiki. You step into somebody else's vibration and you link yourself with them, bring them into a vibrational balance so that they can basically heal their own wounds. And so, I'm not the healer. I'm just the facilitator. I have found that I have a lot of friends who are coming in to help. And so I have literally been, in the last few months now, we have regulated it, but originally I was just sort of being moved out of my body, and they were going in, and then when they'd step out, I'd sort of like jump back in, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the feeling. So I asked, and that, I don't mind sharing the space. I don't mind feeling a little squeezed, and I don't mind standing back and watching, or being the second part of the vessel. But I really don't like being moved out. I like sort of having a little control, because as my husband says, I have slight control issues. They're much.
Don't we all?
I used to have to be in control of everything, and now I'm like, I don't want to be in control of anything, which is a nice feeling, because if the more I get out of my own way, the more things flow, and it's just been a beautiful thing. So the Crystal Den was built because, well, I love the whole energy of crystals. I always have, and the more I learned about them, the more the appreciation. So that was sort of like, I wanted to have the store, but really what I wanted was the back half is for everyone. It's a place to come to Zen. It's got a lending library. We've got hundreds of metaphysical books, some that I've had, some that my Reiki master had, some that have been donated since. And you can come in, you can grab a book on transmeditational shifting. You can get a book on astral travel, or body code, or how to eat to prevent cancers, or to reverse cancers. I mean, we have things every shift. We're just a place for everybody to come and become community. The third day of every month, we have a mind and metaphysical discussion group, which was not my idea, but I absolutely love it. And Gail, a very wonderful friend of mine who works with me at the shop, she thought this would be a neat idea, and it's been very transforming because everyone comes in, and this is. It's very great because Yanko, I have the opportunity to have him there. And as you know, he's just a wealth of knowledge, information, and growth. And his expansion is just amazing to watch. But he is leading a lot of people in the group, whether he realizes it or not, he touches, that energy field.
Mhm.
And he touches mine, and it is just a great way to come in. And we had some young kids who had questions about how to, and it was beautiful. And we talk about everything, so there's no boundaries, there's no nobody looks at you like you have three heads, because we all have three heads, so it doesn't matter. Like if you talk about crazy with crazy, I got crazy. So it works out really well. And yeah, so that's another one of ours. I work a lot with mushrooms and microdosing, and just we have a wonderful shaman who comes in and works with uh, ayahuasca and stuff like that. So if people are looking to heal in a deeper way, there's avenues for that. But we have just we've been expanding with so many different things, sound therapy, and I just want it to be a place where people can just come and zen, just hang out, cup of tea, grab a beanbag chair, whatever. If you wanna come in, come out, or if you just want to just hang, we do open Reiki share twice a month, so you can come in and learn Reiki in a different format, sort of like learn as you go. And then we actually teach classes. Gail and I actually partner in teaching, and we have quite a lot of students that we've brought through. And so we have a lot more Reiki masters in our area than we used to, which is awesome. And
So
then
let me cut you off. I want to cut you off because I mean, obviously the listening community, I'm sure is like, whoa. And I had you on here because of the energy that you offer into the world, right? Like through all of those modalities and services, you're offering ways for people to heal, to come back into communion, which I believe is source energy in communion. Something else you said is you all bear witness to individuals as they are, which right before this show, I was doing my live show with Yanko, and I shared with the listening audience there. I truly fundamentally believe the definition of authenticity is allowing spontaneity to unfold in the present moment, right? Whatever that looks like. And in that, right, we're allowing source energy, however you define that, love, God, Allah, whatever, to shine through all of us in that connection. But this is about your journey, and I'm curious, have you always been this connected to spirit and in service to others?
So if you go back, this is when I was a little girl, I see aura. I see everyone's aura around their body. That's
Oh,
just
good. You can tell me what my aura is off
I
camera
do
or
because
on. I don't care. What's my aura?
I do it through video, and I cannot do it picture, but I can do it in
Interesting.
purpose and in person. Yeah, and it's something that it's always been there. So the kindergarten, you learn red, blue, green. You don't learn how do you see. So I know that everyone didn't see the way I did, because it's just what I see. I don't, it wasn't like, oh, that's different, because that's just all what I've known. So I guess
Yep.
if you're colorblind, that's what you know. You
Yeah.
don't know. So, and I was a young girl, and I had made a new friend. I was probably 9 years old. And we were laying in the grass out in the park one day, and this guy walked by, and he was very ill, the colors around the body. Um, so I see your outer layer, the white. So everybody sees these pictures of Jesus, and he has this like halo, right? And people laid down their stuff and they followed him. Well, he glowed. Like his aura was so bright that the average person could see his aura. So if a man started walking down the street and was glowing, we would all want to follow and figure out what's going on, right? So pretty much it. And I see the thickness, I see the white around people. And how I've come to understand it is the thicker the white, the brighter the white, the closer to God. So sorry, the sun is coming through. I'm getting blinded.
Well, it's interesting because I was like, "Well, talk about a strong aura. You're shining really bright."
Like, all of a sudden the light's coming through, and I'm like, uh, I do shine pretty bright, though, I gotta say.
I know I shine pretty bright too.
Been an interesting thing for me to be able to see my own aura through the machine. It's been fun. So, but yeah, so like, in the old days, and I think a lot of it comes from like the fishing times, that the guys on the boats and how they used to take oracles with them, to make sure that they were safe. They would keep these people who could see. So, they would see, your anger line is red. It's a color of red. And, so when you get angry, you see red, they tell you. And that's literally why that red is there. And I can tell people's personalities, and ability to hold their anger or not hold their anger just by vision. So a guy punches walls. I know if he's, very passive. I know if a woman gets angry easily, if she releases her anger or if she holds her anger. There's different ways that the line sort of creates like explosions of color that like shoot from it. And so like when somebody is a very angry person, it just looks like somebody shot 1,000 little holes into it, and that's somebody who just always angry. And it's just people I don't like. Hi, nice to meet you, going this way.
Oh, but going back to my question, so you read aura, but I can't imagine that there was a lot of people around you that was there?
No. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't know. But when this man was sick, so your health line is a light, like this light green, almost a limey green color to most people. It's about the color that I see around that, in that line. And if someone's ill, or if someone's, say your shoulder hurts or whatever, there'll be like this little, like pulsing of the green in an area where there's pain, which helps me if I'm working on somebody. I can see if the back is sore, they've hurt an ankle. I sort of get an in before I even get them on the table.
Yeah.
And when I'm in their field, I feel it really easily. But so this man was walking by, and he didn't look well. And I've come to understand what the colors are for people that have cancer and things like that, only from my own experiences and learning. But this young girl, I had said, oh, look at that poor guy. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, his colors, like that green is so weird. And she looked at me and she went, you're fucking weird. And she got up and she left and wouldn't talk to me anymore. And it really, like, I went, oh, so this is not right. This isn't good. This is like, and I shut it down. Like I didn't talk to anybody about it because I was the weird kid. And as I got a little older, I expressed it, in my 19th or so, with someone that I had made friends with, she was very much into astrological stuff, which I had no idea. Like I knew I was a Sagittarius. That's about it. And in the newspaper, they put a little clip,
Yep. Yeah.
She was very much in that world, and I started sharing it with her, and she was very excited about it. But I found that, and in the beginning, it was sort of fun, but I was sort of like a party favor. Like, she'd be, yeah, this time, read this one and read that one, and but the thing is sometimes you see something and you don't want to share it. You don't want to express, this guy gets shown up in it. He's not in a good place, and he's not. And I don't want to tell him, well, your aura sucks and you look like a very dangerous human being, and I don't feel safe around you. Not the kind of thing you want to say at a party. So yeah, so it was like it got to be an uncomfortable thing. So I tried to pull back a little bit, and so I've shared it with some friends, but I also have learned that if I get too close to someone, it fades out. So like my husband is like this mesh of colors. So like I can pull his highlight of color for the day. Like today he's yellowish this morning. So he has this like little yellowish haze. Some days he's sort of green. Some days he's sort of blue. But I can never define him. And I think it's a protection for me that like if they're ill or they're sick or something, I can't see it. Because it's not my path, and I'm not supposed to inflict on their path. It's like if I see cancer in somebody, I never say, hey, I will tell clients, have you seen a doctor in a while? Like, you may want to go get a checkup, you know, because that's not my place. That's not what I'm here for. Um, but I'll tell people, like, different things that if their guides come in and I'm doing it over them and they say, like, you need potassium. I'm going to say, look, dude, your guides are saying you need potassium. You either listen to them or you don't. I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what they're saying. Like,
Yeah.
probably a good idea. But it's a very thin line that we walk on in a lot of that. But so I sort of held everything back. And then I started working with the company, and the vice president, it was an amazing lady. And Donna really impacted me in a lot of ways. She grew me as a woman, as a strength and within myself to be more than I felt I could be when I was younger.
Yep.
I just have she was just an amazing lady. And one day we were at a conference, and it was being held in Chicago, and she's from Nashville, and she says, hey, I've got this video I want you to watch and to come up to my room. I'm like, okay, and it was on The Secret. And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm like, so then I started sharing with her. And then it was just like from there, I just started to reopen everything back up. I fell in love with crystals while I was learning religious science, because I wanted to become a pastor at one point, and I was studying, and I love the learning that I got and I received. But in the Bible, there's 119 mentions of crystals, but in the writings of John and Luke and Ruth, there are so many more, and there's so many stories in the Bible where they like drop that little piece off, and it's like, why did they leave that out? So then, my mind is like, why? Like, I've always been that. Like, it's like looking at the sky. When I was a kid, you're taught there that we're on this globe, and whether you believe it's round or flat or whatever it is, they were telling me we were moving and that the sky, we're spinning around. But every night I saw the Little Dipper above my house my whole entire life. And I went, this isn't right. Like, what they're telling me isn't right. 7, 8, 9 years old, I'm going, something's not right, in my head. I'm too young to argue it. But I've always been like that. I've always seen things and went, hmm. And then as I started to wake up and realize that literally everything we were taught was bullshit, and you have to really start again to retrain and relearn everything, and study in a bigger format than what you were taught in school. And there are so many people waking up, and there's so much information now that it's almost overwhelming.
Yep.
But you can learn so much. But I have found, and I go in within a lot, and the guides will tell you, and they'll bring things literally to your phone. Like, if you're awake, it's different than when you were asleep, and you'd have ads for this and that and buy and all this stuff. Now, if you're awake, you'll start to see things on how to take better care of health and
Yep.
different, and it's like, it's such a different world. And each time my frequency changes, um, higher vibration comes in. People like you, where I would have never been in the same vibrational range. And now it's like, here I get this amazing person in my life who
Right.
just came through, and it's like, yeah. And it's just, it blows my mind. It blows my
I know.
mind.
And that's the thing is I think you'll agree. Our lives are so unpredictable because we're so open that like our openness is to be open to the unexpected in any given moment, because you literally don't know how things are going to unfold. But for the listening audience who fundamentally wants to understand Elena's journey, because I think it's important for people to know a little bit of all the nuances. Have you always been super loving and forgiving and go with the flow?
Well, I think I was always go with the flow.
Yeah.
At 11 years old, I made the mistake of playing with a Ouija board because I wanted to be with this group of kids. And unbeknownst to me, I had an attachment, and it was not a good one. And it changed my personality, and it changed I had a lot of uh, I want to say so much anger as I wanted control. So I started dipping toward dark, toward black magic, toward all those things that were there. I wanted to, and revenge was a beautiful thing to me. Like, oh, I could be your friend, but don't piss me off because I'll be your worst enemy. I was the kind of person that like just relentless. And,
Really?
and it was, and I was, I was about 16. Um, and I got married at 15. Because I was crazy and I married Satan's son as far as I was concerned, and I survived and get out. But I had two little girls. But after my first one was born, I was in the park walking with her, and we were at St. Mary's Seminary in Libertyville, and this woman came over to me and she goes, I don't mean to sound strange. She goes, but you have an attachment, and she said, and it's evil, and I would like to help you get rid of it. And she goes, not just for your sake, but for the baby's sake. And I looked at her like she was nuts. And I was like, yeah, whatever, lady. Da, da, da. Yeah. And she looked at me and she says, well, I live right there in that White House over there. She goes, when you're ready, just come knock on my door. And so the next few weeks, I mean, life was very, very hard. And there were some horrible, horrible things that happened. And after in a particularly traumatic issue, I just decided I was going over there. And I walked up to the door of her house and she opened it as I went to knock. And she said, I've been waiting for you. Come on in. And I was just like, oh. And we did, she made me some tea, and it was a very bizarre tea. And it was she had set salt and she had these crystals. The floor was already set up. Everything was ready for me to walk into this center of this thing. She knew I was coming that day. And she managed to pull out of me. And I felt like something was clawing me inside. Like all my organs were being like shredded as this thing was being pulled because it
Wow.
didn't go. And then it was a different human being that day and then every day since. And I spent so much time trying to what I thought of as making up for the person that I was before. And
Mhm.
so 5 times as loving, 5 times as forgiving, 5 times as kind. Um, and it released me to love my child completely and utterly, and then the next ones to come, my husband. And yeah, so I tell people, I'm like, please don't ever let your children go near those things. They were designed to destroy, and that's what they're about. They're very low vibration. They only bring in things from lower levels. They are not designed to communicate with anyone that you are in higher vibration with. So the fact that they sell them at they sell like Toys R Us and shit like that just used to make me crazy because I tell people, and if you have one at home, go douse it with gasoline and set it on fire in your backyard.
Yeah.
Just don't just throw it out, burn it, because it's anything that you have. If you start it on fire and then throw a cup of salt on top of it, like you're dousing out, the connections. So you release, and then
Mm.
it life better.
So let's talk about, right, because you and me, I had you on our show for no particular reason, and you shared with the community then, as I feel you should now, if you're comfortable with. You are a huge proponent of microdosing psychedelics, and you shared with people about ayahuasca. Me being an addiction coach, shared with you my reservations around utilizing psychedelics as a methodology to heal, while I do recognize their benefit. Can you share with me that journey so that maybe the listening audience, somebody who may be interested in healing and that might be the avenue that feels right for them, has a better understanding of how you came upon this plant medicine and why you feel so strongly the way you do around it?
So I started taking classes on psychotropics and mental health about 5 years ago. And so in this, I started to understand and learn about the different medications, the different things that were out there. Now, I had never done anything. I was literally, like I said, I got married very young. I was like super mom, Sunday school teacher, dare mom at school, making homemade bread. Like my world was like, I became
Easy
little
homemaker.
house. Yes, you got it. And in church every Sunday. And I never even tried anything because to me it was just bad. It was just I was going to protect my children from this horrible stuff. So as I started to understand mushrooms and all the rest of it, I was very, very surprised. First of all, that they didn't meet the criteria for being a Scheduled 1 drug.
Yep, that is true, and I've read that myself.
And I looked at it and I went, well, why? And so I ended up being first more pissed off at my government for lying and doing this anyways because of being paid off. And then, there's a trail, follow the money, you can find anything. So, and my first paper for school was going to be on acid. And I had never done anything. And I have a friend who is a biochemist. And so he created me a 1 tab of T25. And so I set myself up. I was going to be like, I had my paper and I had my garbage can. I had my heating blanket. I had my glass of water, my notepads, and I was going to write my experience down.
Yeah, right.
That's from a woman who's been there. Yeah. So the first thing I did was, my husband was home. He was sort of going to keep an eye on me in the background, right? Kids were all gone. Nobody was here. So I took it. I sat down and I wrote, okay, 10:21 p.m. or whatever it was. So first mistake is I'm sitting in my living room and in front of me is my family portrait. First mistake. Big mistake.
That setting matters, whether you decide to do this stuff or not.
Yes, dark room, nothing that can connect you. Binaural beats, frequency music, nothing, no music that can take you somewhere. But so it was quite an amazing experience. But so I, about 10 minutes in, I start feeling my eyes and I write down, first effects, da 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 da. And then seconds later, I was pulled down a rabbit hole. I mean, sucked straight down. And I have a son who's had a lot of surgeries, over 100. And he has started at 14 months old. He was born with a very rare tumor, and he's had reconstructive and just has gone through literal hell many a times and come back. And he is the sweetest, kindest, most respectful gentleman. He is. I'm so proud to be his mother. It's beyond. And he, unfortunately, is dealing with, a much bigger dragon. So let's just put it that way. And so I know the understanding of trying to deal with the addictions. But my road is mine. His road is his. I can do what I can, but that is the biggest thing of learning is that you must allow other people to experience their experiences and that it's not ours. It's not ours to get.
True. And I think, it's interesting you say that, and we'll touch back upon my question in a minute, but since you brought it up, even today, my awareness was when I release all attachments, including to my parents, my children, my significant other, I'm free because it is ultimately my own journey and it's their journey. And
Right.
Not that I can't love them, but that it's not my place.
Right. I had literally tell me. I was, because I was always like the barterer between my son and my husband, the kids, and I was always the one that thought I had to fix everything. Yep. And she looked at me one day and she's like, who gives you the right? And I don't want to swear, but she was like, who gives you?
You can swear. I swear all the time.
I don't normally, but she was like, who gives you the fucking right? Like, who are you? Who are you to get in between their relationship? Your son and your husband, they have their own relationship, and you've been mingling in the middle of it for this whole time. She's like, you don't have that right. Get the hell out of the way. Let them have their own relationship, and it will be the relationship it's supposed to be. You're not doing them any favors by trying to mollify. And when I did back off, they had a little bit of a difficult time. And then now they have an amazing relationship. but it's theirs, and I don't have anything to do with it. You
Yeah,
know?
we're not supposed to have and that's the thing is, I mean, yes, do I think we have a certain responsibility as our children are infants to
Oh,
care,
yeah.
of course, but as they become aware, it's our responsibility to bear witness to, not to define their life.
Right.
But
Exactly.
anyway, so you tried this,
Oh, yeah.
had an experience.
Yep, sucked me down the rabbit hole and took me back to the first time my son had surgery, and all of the times that I never cried because I
Mm,
couldn't be weak in front of him. I needed to be strong. I didn't want him to see, I didn't want to scare him. I didn't want to make, so I, just shoved it all in, and I never cried. And it took me to every single moment. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And I felt like I was crying for hours and hours. It just kept taking me through all these different things. Of every time I should have released and I didn't. And when I finally came out of it, and I sort of trying to get a grip, and I'm going to write down on the paper, like, okay, just went into this, like, and I look at the clock to put the time down, and it's been 7 minutes. And all I wrote was, this is going to be a long fucking day. That was literally it. And I did heal a lot of things that day, but it's definitely a one and done for me. Like, I don't think I would ever want to take that trip again. So a few months later, I did mushrooms for the first time. Again, I was going to Red Bear. I needed to understand what they were about. And it was magical, amazing, releasing, healing. It took me to places and points that I thought I had healed. I had gone through some very traumatic things as younger, and I was in therapy, for years. I was in therapy. Um, but I thought I had things good. I'm like, I got this, I'm all good. I've worked through that. Well, I did, but it's still there. And you don't realize it's still there. You still have little triggers. You still have things and this sort of went, hey, what about this? And I went, no, I'm not ready. And then we went on to whatever else was going on in that segment. And then I was like, oh, you know what, I am. And then they brought it back. And I took a good look at it. And they said, do you need this anymore? Have you learned everything you need from this? And I was like, yeah. And it went into particles, and it was gone. And I noticed that I didn't get triggered by scenes in movies or the smell of a certain cologne or different things like that would have made me vibrate. And it was just gone. It was literally gone. And I was like, I'm free from that, literally free. So my love for it was in great appreciation. But I also look at mushrooms like, if you do them, if you're doing 3.5 grams and you're going over the bridge and you're going, I mean, a microdose is, you don't even know you're taking it. It's like vitamin C capsule. It's not even identifiable to your body. But what it does is it starts to reactivate the neural
gland, right?
and it reopens up all the neural pathways so that your brain can function. We do so much damage between, chemicals, Doritos, Mountain Dew, shit like that we've put into our body. We damage brain cells. We don't give it enough fat because they tell us cholesterol, so we're not eating, butter and avocados and things that, like, these things are good for your brain, you know. Um, and a lot of people stop nursing and they would feed their kids formula, but in nursing, you're literally dousing your kid in cholesterol, because cholesterol is for the brain and it activates and trains the brain in a particular way, but they don't put it in the formulas. So it's a really, learning all these things and seeing this. But for me, I just, microdosing, I've seen a lot of people heal in other ways and activate the conscious thought patterns and come out of depression and anxiety from it. And that to me is that's the real, is to not be so stressed out what the world's taught them that that's what they're supposed to be. I also have noticed, because I can see the auras, I can see a child that's an indigo child. So around your white, you have these little like sparkles. Like when you stand up too fast and you see those little pinpoints. So that's sort of all in there. and then there's rainbow children, and then there's crystal children, and they're just so intense that some of them I can't even look at. They're like, it's like looking into a bright light bulb. Um, but those kids are taught that when they feel the vibration in their chest, that this is anxiety, because the adults who don't know any better go, oh, well, what are you feeling? Oh, well, it's just anxiety. You just need to do. And it's like, no, you're on a different frequency. That is a download. That's information to them. And if they literally just wipe their hands down their chest to their legs, they'll feel tingles down their legs because they're moving the energy out of the chest, but it comes in to here. And so they need to move it physically, because it's impacting into this human body, but it's fifth dimensional energy. And so they just think they're stressed out. And I've so many kids I've shown in the last 6 months, and they're like, oh, you see, having panic attack. Now it's like, nope, it's good. It's good, just energy. And we just identify it differently. And that's
Well, and I also think it's important to highlight that, like, each generation of kids is being born more conscious
yeah,
than, because
absolutely.
we are meant for expansion. And so I tell people all the time. I was actually talking to a woman yesterday and said, I learn all the time from the younger generations. And she's like, really? I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. I've never heard that it's a download. But it absolutely makes sense
Yeah.
that is what's going on. And then how do we reinforce that these individuals are tapped into power rather than being disempowered by the feeling of what is perceived as anxiety?
Someone is working on, and I just read an article a couple of days ago. Someone's working on, um, I don't remember what it was called. So it's similar to like a ball in a way. It's a smooth, round machine, and these kids will put their hands on and be able to move their energy field. You'll be able to see the energy move within this ball, and it sort of rebalance out the energy system for the kids. And it's in not Switzerland, but Sound of Music. Where were they?
Sweden.
No,
It's not. I
no.
don't know.
Oh, they're alive. It's a little Edelweiss. I'm trying to think of where the flower. Um,
Anyway, it's
yeah.
trivial.
So it's that part of the world that they've sort of, and and some of the things like they've woken up so much in other places. And here they're starting to try and figure out how to get rid of uh, fluoride in the water.
Yeah.
Like, and people don't understand that you can't fluoride in, that this is poison to the body. Doesn't that it doesn't make your income stronger, and this is just a
Yeah.
and it really messes up the pineal gland. And it's been linked to Alzheimer's and dementia, and well, to the brain calcification, which is part of what's going on with those things. And so with it, you think better, your synapses, because we're just energetic beings. Every single cell is, energy charger. And if they can't connect to each other because there's something in the way, then they have to retrack all the way around that ball of in the middle of the brain. And so you're not able to think or to recall or all. And once I started getting it out of my system, like, everything has changed. And so I've been running around. That's been like my rant. And now they say Kennedy is gonna, first thing that he said he's gonna do is remove it from the water system. He's gonna have it banned. So it means that I won't have to buy $200 worth of filters for my house every month, so that I
Yeah.
can get in the shower without being covered in fluoride. Um, so that's like, I mean, it's like the greatest thing on the planet to me. I was giddy the day I heard it. I ran around like I was like somebody just gave me the best birthday present ever. Like, if
Yeah.
I and I'd have kissed him on the lips. But it's there's so many that we have to do. But with microdosing is a different thing completely. It's not. It doesn't. You don't get a high. You don't get a reaction. You don't even know you're taking it. It's like taking vitamin C. You just don't even have a reaction to your body. And it's such a small amount. It's like 0.02 or 0.03, depending on the physical form of the person. And it's, you won't know. And it's like you alternate it. For 3 days, don't take it for 3 days. Take it for 2 days, don't take it for 2 days. Then you go 3 on, 3 off, 2 on, 2 off. And you just keep doing that for 3 months. There is a wonderful app.
And so I guess my thing, right? And again, addiction. My thing is, I don't encourage anybody to become a slave to anything external. So
If you took mushrooms at 3.5 grams, I guarantee you, you're not going to wake up in the morning and go, I want to do that again.
well, two things. One, for the listening audience, I have taken mushrooms. I've done 3.5 grams. Again, I don't have an issue with trying things. I have an issue with needing to do things in excess. And so for me, I guess clarity's sake, what you're suggesting is there's a protocol to do microdosing for 3 months and then to get off of it. Like what I'm just trying to understand for the
there's
community.
an app, if you have an iPhone, called Microdose Me, and it's free. You can download it. And it was designed by Paul Stamos, which is he's the mushroom man. He wears the mushroom hat, like the most knowledgeable human being on the planet for mushrooms. And you take these like little tests, cognitive tests, and they show you different things with your eyes and your mind and all of that. And then you go back 3 months later after you've done taking it and you retake those tests and you see, or 6 weeks in and then another 6 weeks, and you see the difference of what it's done for your brain function. So it's about changing those things. It's not about chasing a high or it changing. It's shifting you to a higher consciousness is what it's doing. And that's why for me, mushrooms are, there's something that works with us and can heal us in a lot of ways, can heal us emotionally, and heal us in physical form. And it's not something that it takes some time to facilitate. Once you've taken 3.5 grams, I mean, I'm sure like the next morning you can go, I want to do that again. You went, okay, give me a couple of weeks to figure out what I just went through. And that's really what it is. It isn't a drug where, and it's not a drug. It's a vegetable. It's not touched. It's not chemicalized. It grows the way it grows. You do nothing to it but eat it.
But do people take it every single day for the rest of their life?
No, nobody would. And no one would. No one. It's not like marijuana, where marijuana alters you way, and it makes you feel a certain way. So you like, oh, I want to be right there. I want to stay there.
Well, right, because
Yeah.
even like cannabis, there is tons of studies of the effects that the potency of the cannabis that is being produced right now is literally
Thanks.
screwing up the brain. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, some of the I won't go on a tangent because this is about you, but yeah, I totally agree. So I guess
I think that's why I've gone toward mushrooms. Is cannabis for me is not my. It's not my thing. It doesn't work. I as a younger, when my kids were like, try. I'm like, I can't. It doesn't work. I can smoke it. I have no reaction. There's something about my body that doesn't react to marijuana in a smoking form. But I did try one gummy one time, and I won't do that again. It was the most experience. I was sick and just being pulled in and out of myself. And it was like, yeah, that's a one and done. Sort of like the acid experience. It was fun to kids, don't ever want to do it. But mushrooms are a much more gentle, loving, and you have a lot of control where you still get up, you can still go to the bathroom. You're not out of it and can't move and can't walk. But it is very, it's long. It's 4 to 6 hours if you're doing a full trip, but you don't want to use it constantly because the facilitation of what it takes of the experience is so much longer than the experience itself. And so I think that's part of what I like is that, yeah, go home and you for a couple of weeks and you meditate and you just sort of like see what the experience is about and why you experienced it and what you understand from it. And there's It's different for everyone. And some people say, oh, it's a bad trip. Like, we don't, it's like anything in life. Nothing, we don't label. There's no good, there's no bad. There's all experience here for us for a reason.
Yep.
Nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. I wish I had heard that line when my mother was alive, because my mother was, why me? Why me? Why me? You know, it's like, well, because you haven't learned a lesson yet, Mom. Now she's gone. It's like, but you know,
It's listen, we all have those family members, and you know, I just sit and bear witness and love them, you know. But I totally agree with you that every experience is the gift into opening yourself up to learning yourself at a deeper fundamental level. I believe that fundamentally. So you have this metaphysical shop. You support people in clearing their energy, and I believe you walk people through microdosing, right? Or am I mistaken?
facilitate and set up the microdosing and help them to understand and the full understanding of why they're going into this. That I also, you know, chat with them throughout and have the conversations and have the little you know, cognitive thought pattern things to just sort of see where they're at with it. And the big thing for me is SRIs to me are you know, again, things what we've facilitated onto people, because when you put in a mind mental drug that stops you from having a repetitive negative thought, you stop having a positive repetitive thought, so you become zombieized and you
Boom.
don't really there. So my grandson came to live with me. He's 18, and he was on so many medications. He just wasn't really living. He was just existing, and
Yep.
it was so hard as a grandmother to watch the last 4 years, 5 years of his life where he was just this zombie. And now that he's here, we're shifting out of all of that, and
Yeah.
he's becoming. He laughs and he talks and he plays, and you know, and he's becoming a little bit of a smart ass, which I absolutely love.
Me too. I want right in the beginning. I just said the God is in spontaneity. Like that's the gift of co-creation, and it's so funny because somebody I love immensely who's brilliant, and I mean brilliant, has been on Haldol for years.
Yeah.
Right, and I mean, this person is truly brilliant, and yet most people don't see their brilliance because it is masked with this horrendous drug. And you know, I'm gonna say for the audience, I'm not a doctor, but I agree with you. SSRI inhibitors,
Either.
right?
And
What's that?
I said, I'm not a doctor either, but I can read and I can read the studies and I can see and understand what's happening. And it, you know, the stats are out there. These teenagers that are put on SRIs, there's more suicide trying to
Yep.
come off of them.
Yep.
It's like, so why would we put them
But
in a
and here's the thing, like I fundamental, right? I mean, we could go on tangents a lot, but I agree with you. We even the results from addiction and stuff, like we need to stop giving chemicals to people and start teaching them breath work. Start
yeah,
teaching them go connect with a tree. I don't care. Like go walk in the woods.
yeah,
The minerals within that experience are healing within itself and will help ground you. Start journaling. To your point, what was the most toxic thing you experienced? The fact that you trapped all that energy within your body from not crying,
yeah.
right?
So yeah,
So,
that was a major thing that I didn't even understand that I
yeah,
was holding. And you know, when I look back myself, I'm amazed at how strong I am, because I'm magnificent, man. There is just anyone that could serve how much pressure put upon one individual. I mean, we have a limousine company as well, so I was running that. I was driving. We have 11 grandchildren. We have four kids, you know, in between their lives and our lives, and I was always the one trying to like fix everything. So I'm doing all of this and trying to hold down that and trying to pay bills. And my husband, unfortunately, he's sober now, thank God, but he was an alcoholic and was pretty, you know, in a bad place for quite a long time, and it was more weight on me trying to let, you know, just and I look back now and I go, how did I even survive that? How did I do that? And it's just, the grace, and it's just that, just because we are. I sort of look at God, as we are all God. We're all one cell. The cat, the dog, the tree, the fly, one little cell in one massive being. And as long as we all work together in that same vibration, there's nothing that we can't shift, change, and design in this world. We we make heaven, we make hell. Each one.
Preach, sister.
Yeah. And when you decide to think about things that are negative, you decide to have a world of negative. If you are thinking about that are positive, you're having a world of positive. And just changing people's concept of understanding that they have that control. You make your own world.
Yep.
And it's just, my daughter, my youngest daughter, and I love her, and she's finally stopped doing it, which I'm so grateful for. But she would, on a daily basis, probably it's probably an exaggeration, 300 times, but it felt like that. So maybe 20 times a day. She would say, F my life.
Yeah.
And her life is so effed up. It's not even mine. And I keep looking at her and I'm like, why do you want this? I don't want this. I said, then just say, bless my life. Just change one word. Bless my life.
Yep.
Just say, bless my life. You will see a difference in your life in a matter of months. It's just one word, because we speak spells and we create all of what we, and yeah, it's like saying, the word hope. A lot of people think hope is a good word, but hope is unattainable. Hope is a distance away from us. And so when you say, I hope you have a good, happy birthday, you're casting a spell of something distant from them. So you're actually saying the opposite to them. So you say, I know it's going to,
Yes.
I know your reasons to smile. Those are the kind of wishes you want to give. And unfortunately, my grandchildren's name Hope. I go, Lord. But there again, you go, but we don't, until we learn it, we don't know
We
it.
don't know, and we don't know what we don't know until we know it, and then when we know it, we make the changes. It's absolutely 100% true. All right, with a couple minutes left to go, what's one thing that you've learned that you want to impart on the listening audience that you think could fundamentally help them shift their perspective or have a more joy-filled experience in their life?
So if you don't know your chakras, get to know them. There's 7 power fields that run and that control different. And so your throat chakra is not only how you communicate, but it's also how you hear. And if this is closed, you may not be hearing what somebody is saying to you. And I know exactly what not. Maybe it's your fault. You don't even know it. So, learning your chakras, getting them cleared, getting them open, and being able to work within that field of energy is life changing for most people. I get people who've never had it and have no idea how or what it's about. And once you clear those fields, you're a different person. You can learn, communicate, and understand much, much easier. So if you don't know your chakras, get to know them, get to understand why, and just spend time within self and affirmate. So I feel root chakra, and so I feel that I'm happy. And then your crown chakras, I know that I'm happy, you know and it's just, you can balance yourself. No, I am wealthy. I'm wealthy. And it's just, you just go through these things and you will shift. You'll be whatever you're going to be. So if you're going to be happy, it's a decision every morning. It's going to be a fabulous. I don't care. I don't like cold. We had snow in Illinois. You know, do I? Not my favorite thing, but you know what? Yesterday was an amazing day. It was an amazing day. And even on the roads with the crazies that don't know how to drive and the stuff, it was still an amazing day. And I came home, my grandkids snowmen in the front. I was just like, got greeted by 2 little snowmen. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't have to make them, thank God. I don't like snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, every little moment you can spot happiness in every second if you
Absolutely.
Just look for it.
This
And
has
love,
been such a gift and a treasure to my heart. And I know the listening audiences. For anybody out there who wants to know more about Elena, I will post her information in the show notes. And what I would leave all of you is with this. Suspend what you think you know and open your mind to curiosity, because the curiosity can open your soul to experiences that will fundamentally allow you to change your world. And I agree with Elena. We choose heaven or we choose hell in the words and the choices we make every day. Until next time, I appreciate you so much. Please stay on, Elena, for a minute. You guys are a gift to my soul, and I look forward to seeing you next time on What's Your Story.
Use heaven.
Now I have to figure out how to shut this off on my phone because my computer was dying. And hang on, let me stop recording. Nope. This is welcome to the world of technology when Terry doesn't know how to work with it. See, I'm just like you, Elena.
You're just like me.
Just in that I'm working through my technology issues. You know what? We're gonna end this call. I'm gonna call you real quick, okay?
I send you an email with the links.
Awesome.